Welcome you all. So today is the last session of this course we have started. This session is completely related to electrical and electronics, I'm guessing. So it comes under the pattern. Started with the alkaline battery and yesterday electronic fan regulator. Today induction cooktop. So everything is related to electronics and electrical. So it go directly to the course. You guys, can you guys see the screen what I'm sharing? Can you able to see the screen what I'm sharing? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So I believe all of you are aware of this induction cooktop. Are you guys aware of it? Hello? Yes. Okay. So before going into the mechanism, so I want to brief few basics here. So that basics are obviously probably it would have been already covered in your academics, but let us go through that. So it will be easy to correlate with the actual principle of this induction cooktop. So what's an induction? So before answering that part, that terminology, maybe these are all like science terminologies, induction, okay, mutual induction, self-induction, electromagnetic induction, whatever. So before going into the term terminology induction, so let us go back to the history. So magnetic field around a current carrying wire, or it is called Oersted's law. So this is observed by Hans Christian Oersted, Danish physicist. Accidentally, I can say. So he observed that there was a current carrying conductor, and next to that there was a magnetic needle. So the needle got deflected. Okay, it is pointing perpendicular to the current carrying wire. So until then, everybody believed magnetism and electricity both are a different field. Okay, so afterwards, after his observation, he understands some connection is there. So we can say he is the first one to find the connection between electricity and magnetism. So until then, both are separate field. So magnetism is like they know magnetic magnets from the earth core or whatever they are finding, that ferromagnets. So completely related to different topic. And the electricity is different topic, different field. But that is the first time he is finding the connection accidentally. So when the current carrying conductor is nearer to the magnetic compass, that magnetic needle got deflected towards that current carrying wire that is perpendicular. North pole is showing perpendicular to it. So people shown interest and started studying. So what is the connection between this? Then he formulated the law. So what is the connection between the current intensity or strength of the current and the magnetic field or magnetic strength, whatever produced? So obviously people wants to find out. No, physicists work is that only. They want to study the nature. So a lot of experiments have been done. They find the connection. So laws have been formulated. So this is what he has observed. So when there is a current in a wire, the magnetic compass is getting deflected. I mean, until up to that, magnetic compass is only get deflected for the magnetic field. Okay, that is for the Earth's magnetic field, North Pole and South Pole, to know the direction. But it is new. It is very much new for him that it is getting deflected for the current. Okay, so what obviously they'll change the direction of the current. They will see how to deflect. So it is deflecting in different direction. So people started to observe this phenomenon. So when there is a current flows in the wire, the magnetic compass, the north pole of the magnetic needle, it is deflected towards it. So it is by the thumb rule. I mean, right hand rule, they will say. So it's already shown here. So if you assume current is, you can watch me. If you assume current is flowing in the direction of the thumb finger, then the magnetic field, okay, the magnetic field, it's the fingers which I'm folding right now. So it is flowing in this direction. So when the current is pointing towards right, the magnetic field will be flowing like this. So when the magnetic field is flowing, so like this, so current is moving in this direction. and the magnetic field will be in this direction. So the magnetic field is flowing like this. We know where will be the North Pole and where will be the South Pole, right? Because magnetic lines of force, that is the basic physics when you have read in magnetism class. Magnetic lines of force always starts from the North Pole and ends at the South Pole. But it is a circular, it's a loop, okay? But for to fix a North Pole and South Pole, we can assume like that. You can take any part. So when the direction of the magnetic field is like this, then obviously North should be top and South should be bottom. So the North Pole is showing downwards because current is flowing in this direction. So the current is flowing in this direction. So the magnetic field, the magnetic needle is getting deflected towards this direction. Okay, the North Pole is they're getting deflected towards this direction because that is the North Pole. You know how magnetic needle works, right? It will show the position of the North Pole, where the North Pole is there. So are we clear here? Guys? Any doubt here in this? Because from the Oersted law, we know the relationship between magnetism and the electricity and the direction of the magnetic field from the right hand thumb rule. Are we clear here? Or any doubt is there? Okay. So Oersted is the Danish physicist. So accidentally he observed when in his lab, the magnetic needle is getting deflected towards the current carrying wire. So that is a new phenomenon because magnetic needle will always deflect for the magnetic poles of the earth, North Pole, South Pole. Okay. It shows the direction, but it is getting deflected towards, pointing perpendicular to the magnetic, current carrying wire. So that means there is a relationship between current and the magnetism. The current is somehow producing the magnetism. That magnetism causes the magnetic needle to get deflected. So that is very clean observation. So from that, they started to study by changing the direction of the current. The magnetic needle is getting in different direction. So he formulated a law. So which direction if current flows, what will be the direction of the magnetic field, everything. So that covers under Oersted law. So I don't want to go detail into that law, but this is a basic phenomenon. It was observed, okay, in the earlier, so many centuries before. So this part is important to know about what is induction. So this is Oersted law. Are we clear here? Hello? Okay. So now we'll come to the same old question. What's an induction? So Oersted is observed that phenomenon. He has recorded in his book something. Okay, he recorded that observation. But people, the upcoming generation, wants to do. They'll show interest, no, right? Because there is a connection between electricity and magnetism as observed by Oersted, and he even proved that magnetic needle is getting deflected. But what Faraday, that Michael Faraday has come out, he got we can't say idea, but he got an interest. Like, okay, current is producing the magnetic field. So what about in reverse? If you assume in reverse, like what about magnetic field produces the current? If we give the magnetic field, whether the current can be produced or not. Obviously, that question will come, right? When there is a connection between two, one is producing one thing, then what about that one producing this thing, right? So if A can produce B, what about B? Whether B can produce A or not. That question will be there, obviously. So he has gone for that. So that's where this is started. Why he has taken the magnets and started moving with the coil, everything. Why it has started? Because of the Oersted observation only. Because current carrying wire producing the magnetic field. So he is interested, keen to know how magnetic field produces the current in the wire, in the coil, whatever it is. So this is what he did. So this thing was shown by our physics teacher also when I was in school. So it's a simple apparatus. So you take a coil, it is connected to it is not like the number of turn is less, it will be like compactly packed the coil, and it is connected to the galvanometer. So galvanometer will not show the value of the current flowing. It will show only the direction of the current. It will only deflect. Okay, so that is the thing of galvanometer. Ammeter only will show the value of the current, how much ampere. Galvanometer will show the direction of the current. See, you can see here, center is 0. It will deflect either positive side or negative side. So we can know from the deflection, current is there, and also direction of current can be inferred from the galvanometer. So my physics teacher started moving this magnetic, bar magnet towards the coil. When it is moving, what is happening? The galvanometer shown the deflection. So we will come to the part which direction is deflecting, that all we will see. But galvanometer shown the deflection. That means current is flowing in the coil. That is the first thing to know. So what is happening here? This is called induction, they are calling. The magnetic induction. The magnets caused the induction in the coil. What it is induced? It has induced an EMF in the coil. So what is induction? Induction is something is induced. Induced by what? Magnets. What was induced? Electromotive force. That is EMF or voltage. That drives the electrons. So electromotive force, the name itself, you can get that. Electromotive force. The electrons got motivated, or some driving force is there which motivates the electron to move in a particular direction. So we got the current. So galvanometer shown that reading. Not reading, that current is available in the circuit. We inferred from the deflection of the galvanometer. So when you move the magnet towards the coil or away from the coil, when you move towards the coil, deflection is in one direction. When you move away from the coil, deflection is in other direction. Now we will come to the part of direction of the current. Why the current direction is changing according to the movement of the magnets. So when this north pole is moving towards this coil, so what's happening? These magnetic lines of force, we call it as magnetic flux. This magnetic flux or magnetic field linked with the coil is changing, right? When you keep on move, the intensity of the linking with the coil is increasing. Okay, when you pull it out, it is decreasing. So there is an increase in the intensity or decrease in the intensity of the magnetic flux linked with the coil. So that is the reason there was an electromotive force induced in the circuit. Okay, this is the Faraday's law. This is the observation of Faraday. But the direction of the flow, direction of the current flow, how to understand which direction it flows, it comes from Lenz's law. So what Lenz is saying, so if EMF is induced in the circuit, so induced EMF, what it's going to do, it wants to stop the cause which induced it. That means whatever the motion has caused this EMF, it wants to stop it. So that's how conservation of energy works, right? If something, it's like when you are moving something and something is produced, it will not act in the same way so that it will be like amplified. Amplification won't happen. Okay. So it will be like always resisting only. So you have to give more work, then more can be produced outside. So we'll see that part later, how the conservation of energy is involved here. But Lenz's law is stating from the conservation of energy, you can put in a double quote, from the law of conservation of energy, he understand the EMF induced will always work against the cause which is induced. It will not work in favor with the cause. It will always work against the cause. Because if it works favor with the cause, more it will induce, right? That's not going to happen because it's violating. You are producing something out of nothing. So it is against the conservation of energy. So the Lenz's law states whatever the cause produces the current in the circuit, that current will flow in such a way so that it will stop the motion of the magnet. So I will ask you, I am moving the magnet in this direction. Okay. So magnet moving in this direction. In what way, in what direction the current should flow? Whether in this direction or in this direction. Current should flow so that it will oppose the motion of the magnet. What can oppose the motion of the magnet? Guys, this, you leave this. I'm just asking, what can oppose the motion of the magnet? Anybody? Simple logic, right? What can oppose the, simple question it is, what can or what could oppose the motion of the magnet? Yes, a magnet. A magnet only can oppose the motion of another magnet, right? So we already know from Oersted, current and electricity and magnetism is related. So electricity is produced here so that the magnetic field will be produced in the circuit. That magnetic field will move in, flow in such a way, it will oppose the motion of this magnet. So from this very roughly, I can say, if I move the magnet here, my magnet, whatever magnet is produced by the current EMF should be in this direction. So this is my primary magnet, what I'm moving with my hand. And this is produced by the current in the circuit, the EMF. Because of the EMF, this magnetic field is produced. So this magnetic field direction should be in this direction. So it will oppose, because opposite poles repel, right? So it will, no, same pole repel, like poles repel, so opposite pole attract. So this like poles start repel each other. So I know the direction of the magnet. From that, I can predict the direction of the current. So what way the current should flow? You can say from the right hand thumb rule. You can say from the right hand thumb rule, what way current should flow. If current is flowing in this direction, my magnetic field will be flowing in this direction, right? So what way current should flow? From the right hand thumb rule, you can do it for yourself and see. Guys, my current should flow in this direction. Okay, so that what's happening when the current is flowing in this direction, my magnetic field is this. You can interchange. Either you can call this as a current carrying conductor, or this as a magnetic field, or this as a current carrying coil, or this as a magnetic field. You can interchange the labels, but the right hand thumb rule is very much useful. You consider this as a coil, the direction of the current, this will be the direction of the magnetic field. Or this is the direction of the current, this will be the direction of the magnetic field. You can interchange the label, okay? But this is only going to help you. So from the flow of this direction of the current, I got this direction of the magnetic field. So this will oppose the motion of the magnet. So my current will be induced here. Okay, now if I pull the magnet in this direction, somebody is doing the annotation. I can do, I also can't do. I can do anything, okay. So if I pull the magnet in this direction, so that means there is a direction of motion. I'm pulling it backwards, but the magnetic poles are same in the same direction, north and south only, but I'm pulling backwards. So what will be the direction of the current? Because you can see when I'm pulling this magnet backwards, this change in magnetic field also again producing, that is magnetic field is decreasing. What Faraday is telling, increase in magnetic field or decrease in magnetic field linked with the coil changes. That's all. He never speaks about it should be increasing or decreasing. Change in magnetic field causes the EMF. So now when I pull the magnet away from the circuit, the magnetic field is decreasing, linked with the coil is decreasing, strength is decreasing. So what happens? EMF induced as per Faraday's law. And what will be the direction of the current? Anybody wants to try? What will be the direction of the current? Because my north pole is moving away. So that motion I want to stop. So what should be my magnet here to stop that? My bar magnet is moving away. North and south pole is moving away. So what kind of magnetic field should be produced in the circuit in order to stop that motion? The virtual magnet, bar magnet should be produced will be like this in the circuit to stop the motion. Then only the south and north will attract, it will stop the motion, right? Magnet north, No, the position I'm asking. The north is moving away. So what should be the position of the pole? I mean, sorry. What could be the virtual bar magnet which is going to be produced by this electrical current in the circuit? What could be the position of the bar magnet? So because we are going in reverse, okay, it will help you to understand core concept, because I will work like this only. I will not go by blind rules. Okay, I will go in this way so that easily I can get the law. I will not go by just do the thumb rule and get the direction. I'm not going to do that. So we'll go as per Lenz's law. The north pole is moving away. That motion is to be stopped, because that motion only causing the electromotive force here. As per Lenz's law, that should be stopped. So I have to produce south pole here next to the north pole. So only it will be stopped, it will be pulled. So my virtual bar magnet should be this one. So what will be the direction of the current here? Right? The current should flow like this. Am I right? No, 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 no. Whether the current should flow like this or like this. Actually, I made a mistake in the previous thing. If north and south to be produced, the current should be in this direction. Right? Because when the current is flowing in this direction, the magnetic field is in this direction means. So this will be north, this will be south. But I want this to be north and this to be south. I'm speaking about the first case. Okay. First case, when I'm moving the magnet towards the coil, I'm speaking about that case. So what should be the direction of the current here? So it should be like this, north to south. So my current should be like this. So it should flow from here and go down. So if current flows only, the direction of the magnetic field is this direction. So north should be here, south should be here. So my direction of the current flow is in this way. So I will get north and south pole in my first case when the magnet is moving towards the coil. When the magnet is moving away from the coil, I should get south pole next to the north pole so that it will pull the magnet. So it will stop the motion. So my current should flow opposite way. Here and here. When the current is flowing in opposite way, so north pole will be here and south pole will be here. You can imagine. So the current is flowing here. So north pole will be here and south pole will be here. So the current flow in this way. Are we clear here? So when I'm moving the magnet towards the coil, current flows in one direction. I found the direction by using Lenz's law. When I'm moving the magnet away from the circuit, current flows in other direction. Same by using Lenz's law, I found the direction. Are we clear here? A little confusion will be there, but if you try, you can get this. Okay. It's not that much. It's a bit hard, but you have to try it. It will be confusing to explain, definitely confusing. But if you try it, you can get that concept. By only using the logic, the motions to be stopped. Whatever the motion caused the electromotive force, that electromotive force should work in such a way, it should stop the motion. Are we clear here? Guys? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is Faraday's law. I already told you. So you can take a screenshot if you want. So this is change in magnetic flux, and this is with respect to time. And this is number of turns in the coil. Number of turns in the coil. So when you increase the number of turns in the coil, the voltage will be increasing. So this is very important, significant role. The number of turns in the coil plays a significant role, because if you just increase the number of turns in the coil, you can increase the induced voltage. So this plays a crucial role in the transformers. Okay, step up and step down transformers, what we are using for transportation of electricity from the power grid to our households. No, so they'll be using step up and step down transformers. So this number of turns in the coil plays a significant role in jack up the voltage or reduce the voltage. So this is this phi symbol we called as phi. This phi symbol is represent magnetic flux, this magnetic lines of force linked with the coil. So the change in magnetic flux linked with the coil is proportional to the voltage induced in the coil. This is Faraday's law. So now we know varying current produce varying magnetic field. Do we know this? Varying current produce varying magnetic field. We have seen current has produced a magnetic field, Oersted law. But as per that logic, if you vary the current in the wire, the magnetic field produced also get varies, right? So that's what we are going to see here, the transformer. You may wondering because what is the connection between this and the induction cooktop? But believe me or trust me, this is the basic, okay? Analogous to that only, the induction cooker is existing. Everything is analogous to this only. So as I told earlier, we have used a bar magnet to produce the current in the circuit, right? But instead of using the bar magnet, our purpose is what? To change the magnetic field linked with the coil, right? So to achieve that cause, to change the magnetic field, you no need to move the bar magnet with your hand, okay? It can be done in many ways. You can keep the bar magnet stationary, you can move the coil, or you can keep the coil stationary, you can rotate the bar magnet, or you can keep the magnet stationary, you can rotate the coil. So that is called generator. If you rotate the coil inside the permanent magnet, you will get a current. Okay, that is called generator. That's how generator works. So like that. But the simple logic is you have to vary the linked magnetic field with the coil. The magnetic flux linked with the coil, if you change, you're gonna produce the electromotive force. Simple principle. So how to achieve that varies. So here we are producing the varying magnetic field with one more coil. Okay. So here is the AC source, that is alternating current source. We are supplying, there is a number of turns in this coil. I'll speak about this. This one I'll speak later. Okay, what is this? This is the iron core. I'll tell you what is the purpose of the iron core. So primary source, that is alternating current source, is attached to the primary coil. When the current flows through the coil, because the current will be varying, plus, minus, minus, plus, it will be alternating. Okay. So it is not fixed polarity. The polarity will be changing because of the alternating current. So when the current is alternating, the magnetic field linked with the coil also alternating. If the current is a DC, I mean, if the voltage is a DC voltage, like a battery, if you connect, instead of this, if you connect the battery, DC volt, the magnetic field will be produced, but that won't be varying. Understand? We want a varying magnetic field. That's what Faraday says. Varying magnetic field only produces the EMF, not just flux. Flux won't produce the EMF. Change in flux only gonna produce the EMF. When the flux is constant, this derivative becomes zero. Okay, so EMF will become zero. So DC current will produce static magnetic field. We are not interested in that. We have to use a varying. We want a varying magnetic field. For that, we need a varying current source. That is alternating current source, AC source. When you connect to the AC source, it will produce the varying magnetic field in the circuit, and the circuit is magnetically coupled, okay, not electrically. So this iron core won't conduct the current. It will only connect the secondary coil magnetically. Okay, this iron core helps. Understand, this iron core is insulator. Okay, it will not conduct the current, but it will carry the magnetic field, so that my magnetic field won't be wasted. It will be clustered together and coupled with the secondary coil. So that is the purpose of this iron core. So it is clustered together and it will be coupled to the secondary coil. Now the secondary coil, the magnetic flux is linked. Since it's a varying source, the magnetic field linked with the secondary coil is varying. So what will happen as per Faraday's law? It will induce a EMF in the circuit. So if it is plus and minus, the induced voltage will be minus plus. You know why it is it. You can use the Lenz law and understand why it is minus and plus. If it is minus and plus only, it will oppose the flow of the magnetic field. Okay. So it always Lenz law states the induced EMF will work in such a way it wants to oppose the cause. The cause is here is change in magnetic field. It wants to oppose the change. So if it is plus and minus here, the induced voltage will be minus and plus. If it is minus and plus here, the induced voltage will be plus and minus. So it will be alternating here. So from the alternating current and alternating voltage, we have produced the alternating current and alternating voltage. You may be wondering, what is the fun in that? I can directly connect here, right? Instead of connecting through this iron ore, I will directly connect the wire here. I can transfer the voltage to the load. Why I want to do this drama, right? What is the use of this drama? Connecting magnetically, coupling these two coils. Anybody? Why somebody painstakingly do all this work? Why I want to couple with the iron core? Why can't I directly connect the coils, both the coils together? Anybody? Guys? Anybody? Why I want to couple magnetically? Why can't I directly couple electrically and transfer the voltage from the source to the load? So this is the source and this is the load. Okay. Why I want to do this? Anybody? Guys? Hello? You can say anything. What is the purpose of doing this? No idea. Yes, very good. Honest answer. I like that. Why they are doing this? Because you see the difference in number of turns. Can you see that? The number of turns in the primary coil and the number of turns in the secondary coil. As I said in the Faraday's law, the induced voltage, this is the induced EMF, is proportional to the number of turns in the coil and the change in magnetic flux. So if you increase the number of turns, you can increase the induced voltage. So this is not going to happen if you connect the coil directly. It only transfer the volt. If I send 230 volt, it will transfer directly 230 volt here. It's not going to increase or decrease the voltage here. But with the help of this Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, by varying only the number of turns in the coil, in the secondary coil, I can either jack up the voltage or reduce the voltage. Okay. So this is called transformer. What is the purpose of transformer? From the primary source, from the voltage of the given voltage, you can either increase the voltage in the secondary coil or decrease the voltage in the secondary coil. But remember, we are not violating the conservation of energy. If you calculate power, power will be same. Voltage into current is the power. So what's going to happen? It will compensate in the current. If I increase the voltage in secondary coil, current will be reducing. If I decrease the voltage in secondary coil, current will be increasing. So that the conservation of energy is always preserved. Nature never gonna violate that. Okay. Nothing can violate the laws of nature. So only I am playing with the voltage. Okay, with the use of this Faraday's law by using this number of turns as a significant part, number of turns in the coil, by either increasing or decreasing. I am just increasing the voltage or decreasing the voltage in the secondary coil, but I am not violating the energy or power. Power is same. You can even call it as Vp by Ip is equal to Vs by Is. If you increase this, this will reduce. If you decrease this, this will increase. Then only that the equality can be achieved. Okay. So this is the power. Voltage into current only, power, watts. You can measure in the unit of watts. Volt times in watts. Okay. So this is the thing they are using in our transportation of electricity. What is the purpose of transformer? Now I'll tell you. In power grid, they will produce like 11K, okay, 11 kilo voltage, okay, 11 kilovolt of power. For example, if you assume, now if they want to transfer that, they can transfer. Why they are producing so much voltage? They can't produce less voltage and more current. That question, okay, let us not talk about that. Some high voltage they're producing, it is coming to our house. So we can't use the high voltage, right? Substations will be there. Substation will reduce the high voltage to lower voltage, like 440. Then again, that 440 voltage will be sent to our household purpose. That will be again stepped down to 220 volt for our consumption. So everywhere the voltage is reduced. Okay. So how they are achieving that? By using these transformers. You can see in the, in your neighborhood or somewhere, these power poles will be there. That big transformers will be there, enclosed in the iron case. Okay. So inside this iron ore will be there, and primary coil, secondary coil there, and some detailed components will be there for so many purpose. But basic principle is this. In order to step down, the number of coil in the secondary should be less than the number of coil in the primary. In order to step up, number of coil in the secondary should be greater than the number of coil in the primary. By varying this number of turns in the secondary, you can achieve either higher voltage or lower voltage. Are we clear here, guys? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. But still, I am not told about the main purpose of the iron ore. The one purpose of iron ore is to couple two coils magnetically. That means it won't allow the magnetic flux to get wasted. I mean, permeating through space. Everything will be clustered together and given to the secondary coil. That is one purpose. And one more is these, I mean, not one more, that one more what they are doing is the preparation of this iron wood. The design of the iron wood is like laminar structure. Okay. Like lines will be there, laminar, like a slices, like all the slices will be stacked up with some insulator in between. Okay, like some jelly type insulator will be they stacked up on each other. Why they are doing this laminar structure? You should ask a question to me. This magnetic field is varying. It is producing the current. Why you should produce the current only in the coil? What about this iron ore? This is also ferromagnetic, right? Why can't it produce the current here? Right? Why? How the magnetic field knows I have to only produce current in the coil? Magnetic field doesn't know because it's unconscious, right? It is least bothered whether you are keeping coil or not. When there is a varying magnetic field, next to that any ferromagnetic metal is available, it's gonna induce current. That's what it knows. Okay. But so that is the thing. So varying magnetic field can also produce current in this iron ore. So what that current will be, that current is called eddy current. How the current flows? Again, Lenz's law. The current flows in such a way. Why it is called eddy current? Because it like a circle it will flow. Okay, eddies, like a whirlpool. Okay, like in terms of eddies, this current will be flowing on this. On the surface, you can imagine. On top view, I can show. This is the top view of the iron ore. The eddy currents will be flowing like this. Okay. So how to determine the direction of the eddy current? Again, Lenz's law. The induced current will always oppose the cause. What is the cause here? The change in magnetic field. So magnetic field, if it is positive or negative, the current will be flowing here. So current is flowing here. When the current is flowing here, the direction of the magnetic field is like this. So the drawing is showing correctly. The direction of the magnetic field is like this. So I want to oppose this magnetic field. So what will be the direction of my eddy current? If it flows like this, the magnetic field will be up. If it flows like this, the magnetic field will be down. So my eddy current if this is positive and this is negative, my eddy current flows like this. So that no, in this direction, sorry. See, I am just using the thumb rule. That is very much helpful. Learn to use it. So my eddy current flows like this. My north pole to south pole will be like this. So this is north, this is south, produced by this primary coil. So produced by the eddy current will be like this, north, south, in this direction, right? Because coil is, I mean, current is going like this, eddy current is going like this, magnet will be produced downward direction. So north to south. So these like poles repel each other. So if it is plus and minus, my eddy current will be this direction. If it is minus and plus, my eddy current will change the direction. Okay. So it will be in this direction. So eddy current will be alternating. So this is the problem. Okay. We are losing the power here. Eddy currents, again, it will be unnecessarily be created in the iron ore and it will cause the heating effect. So whatever my power was there, this Vp to Ip, it is wasted as heat energy here. Okay, lost as heat energy. So I am not getting the efficient output. My power is wasted here unnecessarily. So what they are doing, in order to cut this eddy current, they'll make these slices. Okay, of this slices of these iron plates, and they stack together so that the eddy currents won't flow cross-sectionally, because inside insulators are there. So they will cut the eddies. So eddy current won't be flowing in that. So that is the design of that iron ore. That is one more thing you should know. So why I want to speak about eddy current here? Because it's gonna play the crucial role in our induction cooktop. As you all listen now, what I said, the eddy current is the unnecessary thing in transformer because it's producing the heating effect. But in our cooktop, the eddy current is the useful thing because we need the heat, right? Without heat, we can't cook. So eddy current is useful in many ways, but in transformer, it is waste. Okay, it is wasting our power. It is unnecessary. But in many field, eddy currents are useful. So this experiment, to understand the eddy current, probably in Doordarshan and many science experiment in lab, you yourself you can do. Take a copper tube, take a bar magnet. Okay. So just now keep the copper tube aside. Take the bar magnet and just put it down from top to, from this hand to this hand. It will go at the acceleration. Okay, you can call it as G, obviously, right? Because of the acceleration to gravity, it is move at the rate of G, 9.81 meter per second will flow. But if we keep the copper tube, and the size of the bar magnet should be such that it should not rub inside the tube. It should move freely. So ensure that the diameter of the magnet, circular magnet, whatever you're buying, should be less than the whatever copper tube is there, no, that inner hole, inner dia, it should be less than that. So when you put that circular bar magnet inside that copper tube, what will happen? It will not go at the rate of G. That means G mean that G value 9.81 meter per second. It will not flow at that rate, not move at that rate. It will be reduced. So what is stopping the movement of the bar magnet? Anybody? What is stopping the movement of the bar magnet from falling freely? It will stop the free fall. What is stopping? What is it? E? Induced EMF or eddy current? Both are same, right? When we call eddy current, if it is circulating without any coil, okay, it is circulating means eddy current. That means any iron plate or any irregular shape of the body, the current will be circulating like eddies, like whirlpool. It will be circulating. You can't tap anything out of it, okay? But it is going to exist there. But if you touch it, it is going to give a shock to you according to the intensity of the magnet, okay? If it is a bar magnet, don't worry, it is not going to give a shock to you. But you can observe this effect on the motion of the bar magnet. That is the primary thing here. The free fall of the bar magnet is impeded or stopped, or I can say restricted, because of the eddy current. So we can understand something is there. We cannot conclude that the bar magnet is magnetically stopped by the copper tube, because copper tube is non-ferromagnet. It will not be affected by any magnetic field because copper tube will never attract to magnets. So we can't say copper tube is like attracted to the magnet, so magnet is not falling. No, that explanation is not going to be satisfactory. So what will be the satisfactory explanation? Some magnetic field is produced. How magnetic field can be produced? Because of current only. So eddy currents are produced because of the falling of the magnet, and the eddy current in turn produce the magnetic field. It opposes the motion of the magnet. So with this, you can do and see what will be the direction of the eddy current and direction of the magnetic field. I'm not going to do that, okay, because I can do it, but that is not gonna you can't enjoy it. You have to do it for yourself. So you can take a screenshot and you can try do it for yourself, and you can cross check with the explanation here. Red is North Pole, blue is South Pole. They even show the position of the magnets here. That is, this is the virtual magnets produced by the eddy currents. Okay. Now we'll go to the main topic. So here is the thing. Varying magnetic field produces EMF, induces EMF in whatever ferromagnetic material comes close to that. Okay. When the ferromagnetic material comes, I'm keep on insisting ferromagnetic. Okay, non-ferromagnetic will not have this effect. When ferromagnetic material, oh sorry, non-ferromagnetic also will have this effect because just now we have seen for copper tube, right? Just now we have seen, right? Copper tube is having the eddy current. Sorry, I'll take that statement back. Ferromagnetic or non-ferromagnetic, eddy currents will be there. But for cooking purpose, ferromagnet is important. I'll tell you later why it is that. So varying current produces the varying magnetic field, and that varying magnetic field will produce as a eddy current, whatever comes into contact with that material. Whatever material comes to contact with that copper or iron, whichever comes to contact with that varying magnetic field, it's gonna induce that eddy current in that. That eddy current, what it will do if it is not grounded, it's gonna produce heat. Okay, that heat only we are using for cooking. So we'll come to that part now slowly. So this is the AC main source. It will produce alternating current. Its frequency is just 50 hertz. But what frequency I'm talking about here, the varying magnetic field, I need some 100 kilohertz. Okay, you can imagine this is just 50 hertz. This is 100 kilohertz. That is the frequency I want here. Then only it will produce the eddy current of such frequency. It's gonna heat up. Okay, it's gonna heat up the material, whatever come into contact with that. So I want a high frequency generator here. So for that only the circuit exists. So with our existing power source 50 hertz, we can't produce high frequency varying magnetic field. Okay, we need a varying magnetic field of this much frequency. Like every second, 100 kilo cycles should be running. Like every second means 100 kilo cycles should have passed. Okay, that is the purpose of this. I mean, whatever you can infer from that frequency. So to imagine 100 kilo means like 1 lakh cycle should complete like every second. So this AC source, I'm going to convert into a DC source. So what I'm going to use, I'm going to use a rectifier. This is the full wave bridge rectifier. So AC source is given to this full wave bridge rectifier. And this full wave bridge rectifier produces the DC source. You can see here directly they use plus and minus, but here they are not used plus and minus because polarity is changing. Okay, we can't assign a label here, but here they assign the label because this rectifier will convert AC to DC. What is the full wave bridge rectifier? That is a separate class we have to see. Okay, here you assume this full wave bridge rectifier converts AC to DC. So what I mean is AC will be like this. So DC will be like this. So this is the full wave bridge rectifier. For every negative off cycle, it is converted to positive off cycle. That is what it does. So I got my DC output. But even though this is not straight line, it is keep on varying. 0 to maximum, it's varying. So it is not like preferably direct current, okay, direct voltage. It is a varying voltage only. So for that purpose only, I'm using this inductor and the capacitor in parallel, okay. It is in parallel. You can get that, right? Plus and minus, inductor and capacitor. So here your rectifier. So this rectifier, this inductor and capacitor is parallelly connected. So what will happen? So whatever this varying DC voltage is gone through this, it will be smoothed out. How it is getting smoothed out? For that you have to read inductor and capacitor. So further mathematics involved. So let me not go into depth into that. Okay, but assume, I mean, you can understand this inductor and capacitor, that is L1 and C2 is existing to smooth out this variation. So after passing through this L1 and C2, our voltage will be like straight. Okay, if this is the volt, this is the time, or somewhat straight. Okay, we can't say purely straight, but it will be smoothed out. This maximum to minimum will be avoided. It will be smoothed out. So we got a voltage here. So 230 volt alternating current is converted into 230 volt DC voltage, correct? So 230 volt alternating current, alternating voltage is converted to 230 volt DC voltage. So plus is already fixed here. So plus will come here. So this is plus and minus is given here. This is minus. This MOSFET is nothing but a semiconductor device, electronic device you can buy in the market. Okay, this is nothing. The explanation of MOSFET is metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. Okay, it's a fancy name, but you can remember it's a switching device. Yesterday we have seen one diac, right? That is a switching device. Here, same way MOSFET is a switching device. It is having on gate terminal. The gate terminal will be, always remember, whenever the word gate comes, you have to give minimum effort to that. Once you open that, it will allow the big flood to a big flow to happen. So big flow is here, the 230 volt. I am giving just a 20 volt gate pulse. Okay, this is the 20 volt gate pulse. Okay, this is 20 volt. You can keep with some frequency, whatever frequency I want to achieve in the circuit. So I want to achieve the frequency of 90 kilohertz. So I want to give the gate pulse of 20 volt with this frequency. Okay, if I give the gate pulse of this frequency, this MOSFET, this switching device will allow the flood to flow. It like close the gate, open the gate, close the gate, open the gate. Like that will happen in the frequency of 90 kilohertz or whatever frequency you want. Whatever frequency you want to operate, if you give the input gate voltage such a way, that frequency, that's called switching frequency, it will open and close, open and close. So that will allow the mega volt, that is 230 volt, the main voltage, okay, to pass in such a way. So it will be on and off, on and off, on and off. So I achieved the 230 volt 50 hertz frequency, what is available in my household. I produced 220 volt. This will be same frequency, but the maximum voltage will be 220, not with the 20 volt switching frequency. Okay, what I did, I switched, I made my household voltage AC to DC converter. That DC voltage have been like, what to say, I have created an alternating or I can put like this, like a pulse. Okay, my 20 volt DC voltage has been created like a pulse because of the switching frequency. I created with the same frequency my 20 volt. Okay, this is the achievement, right? I have taken the 20 volt AC with the 50 hertz. I produced 20 volt DC with the frequency of not 50 hertz, 90 or 100 kilohertz, whatever I want. Okay, that will be decided by this gate frequency. So I produced here. So that will be sent through this coil. Now you can imagine. So 100 kilohertz, the voltage is varying 0 to 220, 0 to 220. Okay, in every second, it's varying 0 to 220, like 100 kilo times. In every second, 1 lakh cycles are completing 0 to 220. That means the variation is huge. The high frequency voltage has been supplied to the coil. So what will do now? As per Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, this coil will produce a magnetic field with the same frequency, right? It will keep on produce the magnetic field with the same frequency. So high frequency magnetic field has been produced by this high frequency coil. Okay, high frequency coil produces the high frequency magnetic field. So on top of it, I am going to keep my vessel, not directly on top of it, on glass surface or ceramic surface will be there. On top of it, you are going to keep a ferromagnetic material. Why I'm insisting ferromagnetic? If you keep copper, copper will produce the eddy current. Okay, because of this high frequency magnetic field in this coil produced by this coil will cause the eddy current in my cookware, in my vessel. But that eddy current will not face any resistance because copper is having low resistance, good conductor. So since there is no resistance, no heat will be produced. But my purpose is not the eddy current. My purpose is my eddy current should produce the heat. So what I want to do now, I want to go for a high resistance vessel. So ferromagnetic material like iron, something will have high resistance. Okay. So when the eddy current is reduced in that vessel, it will be converted as heat. That heat will be used for cooking. So that's it. Any doubt? Guys? Any doubt here? or you want me to repeat slowly, or did I gone too much fast? Guys, you have to tell me something. Hello. Any doubt? So this is called planar coil. Okay, why it is called planar coil? Like it will be like plane. So you can't. It's not a 3D type, like a plane. So you can think of like a compact. Okay, so that it will be like. So it is called a planar coil. It will be on the plane, 2D plane. So this will have the high frequency current, like a 220 volt. You can say with high frequency, like 50 to 100 kilohertz in that range, and that will produce a high frequency magnetic field. That high frequency magnetic field will cause the ferromagnetic material cookware or whatever vessel you are keeping on top of it will like allow the eddy currents to flow, and the eddy currents will cause the heat, and the heat will be used for cooking. That's it.